G'day YouTube, my name's Lance. Welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, a weather report, 12 to 26. And this morning, actually I take them off, I can see the screen better. This morning they said there'd be a fog and the fog would clear and all that, but no fog. It was just crystal clear day. It's a beautiful day outside. No breeze yet, so yeah, nice working weather. So I've got a bit of time in the shed. So I've got the Sparex guard lock hat on. I finally remembered to bring it home. Anyway, guard lock is a PDO range. It's a PDO shafts for slashers, post hole borers, things like that Sparex brings out, and we got them for sale in at the shop there. Got a stand up. We have the Bearco ones and the Sparex guard lock ones. They both do things a bit different, but yeah, the Uni's on a 4 series crossover and things like that. So we will have, if we ever get my Sparex order, we're having trouble getting parts a little bit. Yeah, we'll run through a little bit of that anyway. But this last week, another busy week, but I got some nice time in the shed here, which was good. I mowed I come home Friday afternoon and I mowed the place just so I could have the weekend free. I got the gearbox finished on the tractor here on the 65. All I had to do really was film putting together the components in the bell housing, and then I thought I'd do another video sliding the bell housing on, you know, just showing that you've got to turn your shaft and do a few knickknacks like that. But bloody thing just fell straight in. I put the guide bolts on the side and I had it on the gantry, and on the gantry with a long chain, like a long chain is better than just hooking straight to the top of the gearbox because it gives you that wiggle room. So I just put it up near the clutch there, and bloody thing just fell in. Like it took about a minute. Yeah, to start the cameras, get the whole show going, slide it in, give it a wriggle, click and bang, and I thought, oh, I'll be buggered. Look at that, I was going to do a whole video on that. So that's going to end up on the end of the bell housing video. I've adjusted the clutch roughly, but it seems okay. The PDO's locked in. You can feel that's not wanting to turn, so we know we're there, but it's just, yeah, more arse than Jessie the elephant. She just popped straight in, which was a bit of a surprise. So I've got all the housings ready, and you can see the selectors here. After I do the stew, the idea of today is to film putting the selectors in. There's an order to do them, and just to have a chat about it. It won't be a long video, 10 or 15 minutes maximum probably, and we'll go from there. The brake pedal shaft I slid in the bell housing video, and I've been fiddling along with the brake pedals. Now this pedal here, it's a lovely one. That's whoops, part number, what is it, 13838 I think it is, and that's the one I got off Gordon Ellis. Gordon's a Fergie wrecker in Australia out in Burrell, so Gordon's a mate of mine. He sent that over and another brake pedal because mine had been cut off and bent around, and just to show you, there's one brake pedal cut off. This one's been bent in, and it's got a tag welded on the end so their feet didn't slide off the pedal doing haul out. But the number on this pedal and that pedal at Gordon sent is the same, and just for the sheer interest, I went and got the pedal off the 35, you know, the 6-speed 35, exact same part number. So yeah, if you're looking for a 65 one, a 35 one will do. I've just cleaned the part number off there. Now the spring on the one Gordon sent's a little bit dicky for the over centre for the brake, so I'm going to pull one of these apart and grab the spring off that. And this one Gordon sent it's had a bit of a hit at some stage, and I've panel beated it straight, and look, it's pretty good. I'll probably use it, but the little pawl that catches is good. The one on the 35 here is in really good order too. So I just thought that was interesting, worth mentioning. So that's the left-hand pedal sitting on the tractor. The right-hand pedal he sent. He must have had trouble getting it off. He's still got the pin on through the shaft there, so I'll have to deal with that. And yeah, the right-hand pedal 181961, I think it is. I can't quite read that, but I think it's the same number on the pedal. So Massey Ferguson back in the day was probably using the commonality of parts. And I've actually read bulletins, service bulletins from Massey Ferguson that said after serial number such and such, the part number for a certain part will change, and the reason is commonality of parts. So they actually thought about it back in the day. Nowadays they'd put a sensor on it that shit itself and charge you double. So I've got to work through. You can see this one here's been bead blasted. So after that's bead blasted, now I'll work with this spring and tidy that up, give it a bit of a tidy up and hit it with the old rust converter. That rust converter, gee, she's good gear. Yeah, any part, like all the levers. Oh, the other part too is the brake lever that comes on the side of the tractor there that goes back to your left-hand brake in your final drive. They're the same on the 3565. So I've cleaned them both up, and what'll happen with this one, I know it's a good part. You can't see anywhere in the hole there really, and what will happen with that is that it'll just get a coat of rust converter and put away in a box. It seems to last well. Like it's been ages since I've done this gearbox housing here, and yeah, it seems to be lasting okay. In the video of me putting the gearbox onto the engine, I had this stand sitting up here, and that's a stand. I actually made that stand for doing final drives. That bottom plate there is a plate off a Fergie Rops frame. It's just a spare plate I had hanging around. And so I thought, right, there's the narrow setting, there's the wide settings for the bigger tractors. So I made this bracket up, and the idea is you bolt this to where your mudguard would bolt on, or your stabilisers underneath go, the two bolts go on. And then the different holes here, you can either lift it straight up in the centre, or you have different holes here for different offsets, just to try and get your balance. I haven't tested it on the 65 yet, but I will. And anyway, I thought with it bolted here, I'd lift the whole back end of the tractor up and reposition the axle stand out the back there. But it just started to bend in there a little bit. Like, it didn't bend bad, you could just see it just starting to bend. So I ended up taking it over to the welding bench, and I've put this bit of 5/8 bar there. It's only 5/8 bar because that was there. A bit of 3/8 bar, a bit of quarter rod would have done the job. So I've put a strengthening support there, so I should be able to abuse it a bit more, lift the whole tractor with it type thing. So yeah, so I did that the other day, yesterday morning I was doing a weld on that. So I'll probably bead blast this and repaint the bracket. That's just your what do they call it? Etch it, the primer from CRC. So that bit's come up good. Now my mate Jeff Parsons, he told me one time about cleaning up the little knickknacks, and what he does with his tractors is use a needle scaler. So I jumped on eBay, I bought the cheapest, shittiest one I could find for $60, and I started cleaning it up, and down along the sump here, I'll bring the camera around at the end of the stew, I'd say, and there was a couple of places on the side of the sump here where I couldn't get into real well with my right angle air grinder and the sanding pads that I commonly use. And I just couldn't get in there properly, and I'd been in there scraping and buggering around, so I thought I'd give this a go. And so I got in there and round the bolts and all that, and look, it worked a treat. It's a good bit of advice. Then what happened though was I was rattling away, around the place, and it started getting slower and slower and slower, and I thought, oh, I don't know what's going on here. So it was almost at a stop. So I pulled it apart. You can pull this little screw out here, and there's a little rubber valve and all that. And yeah, it just wasn't going properly. So I ended up knocking this little pin out, get the lever, and you can see the bend there. So I put a bend in the lever so it could actually hold the little valve down low, and now she works like a beauty. I had another follower, when we were talking about this last time, I had a subscriber message me and say, well, because when you're using a needle gun, these things go all over the road, just all over the road. So he said what he did was put a bit of conduit over the top. And this is just your normal electrical conduit. And you can set that over the top. And on mine slides down in there. I don't know if everyone's does that. So this is the first piece I had at 60 mil. And you can just hang on to that and just direct it, stop the needles all flinging about as it gets a little bit of wear in it. But look, that was a great idea. Works well, but I ended up going to a longer one. This is around 100 mil. And you just feed that in over, and you can leave out however much you like, and that's still enough. It gives you another. See, the idea, I believe, is a knurling here, and down through there, and you use one hand here and you hang on to it there. But it's true when he said that these needles run amok on you a little bit, so they get out of whack. I'll just grab the air hose, and so that there still works like a beauty. So you can rattle away, and it gives you another handpiece down here. So look, that was a great tip. Thanks for that. That's just a good thing. I was wondering about putting a bit of tape here and just holding it about there, but then I thought, well, perhaps not. It may pay to bring it back sometimes if you needed to bring it in, or just take it off if if the situation arose. But look, that was a great tip. That's what subscribers do for you. Help you out no end with that. So I cleaned around the sump in the hard to get places, and then I thought, oh, I'll just keep going. It was doing a nice job. And so I've done down the side of the engine block and the sump here, and then I've run over the top with a bit of 120 grit in the sander, and look, it's a lovely finish now. And the other interesting thing is, if you put that needle gun over a bit of old paint or a bit of this primer or something, you can rattle this primer off. You can actually go right through, then sand the edge and tidy it up. When you needle gun this stuff, the rust converter, I can needle gun that as much as I like. It doesn't even mark it hardly. So that's a good sign that tells us we've got a good chemical cure there with that. So and it's an acid. I think it's like a lot of it would be phosphoric acid, I would think. But where the stand was on the side of the gearbox here, I couldn't clean that up properly last time, so I come in and I rattled that clean and put a little squirt across. I didn't sand that. I will probably go back and just sand that a little bit. You can just see a slight difference in texture from the rest of it there, so I'll probably tidy that up. There will be a video coming out on the 65 shortly called Tying Up Loose Ends, and some of the stuff that's not worth a whole video, like probably just fitting the brake rods, the brake pedals. There's a couple of little knacks to it, but it's not worth a whole video. It's too long for a short. So we'll just have a look at that, and it'll probably be a walk around more than a hands-on, and I'll sort of explain what I've done in places. All the tie rod ends up the front here still need to be put on, and I've got to bead blast this bar here because didn't that take some getting out? And so, yeah, so that your new tie rod end slides in there, then you obviously do this bolt up here. So I've got to tidy up these bits, and I won't film putting each tie rod end in. That'll be part of the walk around, you know, just the tying up loose ends, just showing you little bits and pieces that have been done. So that'll be coming up. But yeah, I'm actually, I've got to work on this, but I'm keen to get the mud guards off out of the way. We have brand new mud guards. I'm not going to muck with those old ones. They can go up in the pallet racking for another day maybe. They're reasonably sound for mud guards, but we'll just see how we go. Hopefully today, this stuff here, this penetrate, geez, that's good gear. Some of the pins I had trouble getting out of the linkage arms at the back there, and I sprayed this on, and in the morning I sprayed it on in the afternoon again before I went home, and the next day I went and I bumped the pins out. So it did make it in. You could see, I probably should have filmed it, you could actually see the pin was damp all the way along. So that helped. So yeah, coming up next, well today I'll video the selectors. I'll probably put all the brake pedals in and we'll just talk about that later. It's just a matter of sliding it on, putting the pin on, but I will discuss it. And finally, we'll get the mud guards off and we'll lift that lift cover off. I've got a special bracket made so I can put the lift cover on my turning stands. This is what I do when you think I'm at home chasing mum around the kitchen, making stuff. So yeah, I can put that on the turnover stand so we can get a few things in. I do have some books on setting the hydraulics up, some little serviceman's books that I got ages ago, and the idea is we'll just go step by step by step with that. So I'm actually looking forward to that. I've never done one on setting the hydraulics up, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, I've just been having a ball playing with this tractor again. Finally had time, and I'm really enjoying having a play with the tractor. And it gets a bit boring, I know. You know, a lot of weeks I don't get much time on it, and I'm muck-arsing around, but the mowing's slowing down. The pipe over the side there, I haven't found that. And Judy was saying the other night, she said, you know that pipe? She says, you're sure we went right that way? She says, I thought we might have stopped before we got there. And I said, I'm bloody sure we did it. And she says, yeah, she'd been thinking about it. And anyway, it's 20 years ago, so we're I might be chasing my tail yet, who knows? We have no idea. But look, I'll go handheld for a minute. I'll just show you the side here where I've cleaned up with the needle scaler. I've got the foot pedal on this side, and the reason the foot pedal's on this side is because of the ratchet for the brake. It has to go on, so to hold it in place and give me my stop for the pedal, it has to go in place. So I will probably undo the other piece and put the other foot plate on here. Just, I don't know, I'll just do that, I think. And I'll tell you how fussy we're getting. The bolt on the lever here, on the clutch lever, come from the front to the back. And I just left it like that. That's how it was. I took notes. So I've been going through the parts book, so I had to pull that off again. In the parts book, the bolt goes from the back to the front. So we've got every bolt. I've stole bolts off other tractors if I've had to, has the right writing on the head there. So every bolt has the correct writing there. Every bolt's going through the exact right way for the parts book. Oh, this here, like I've got a piece of paper under there, and I didn't put this on earlier, so I'm coming up to the little jobs like that are just going to happen, and this will go on there, and then this will be masked up. So when we paint it, the elbow here gets a bit of paint on it, and it'll burn off pretty well straight away, but gives you that nice new tractor smell. So the radiator shroud, I still haven't looked at that. I've been doing that for months, I know. And the tyre end. So I'm going to put a little bit of time into just tidying up some of that, and we'll see. But look, it's probably a short stew. I'm looking at the microphone here. I've had trouble with that microphone receiver. I'm sure I put it on charge yesterday, but this morning it's only about half smoke. So I keep looking at it, but it's still working, so we're still getting a good sound through, and which I'm bloody grateful for. But once I stop the stew, I'll have to plug that in, because we worked out early in the piece, I do have a power supply there to plug into it. It's just a USB-C to plug into it, but when we first got it, you can actually just hear there's a slight feedback, a little buzz in it from the charging process. So we got to make sure we unplug it for the recording, or else you get this buzz through. So anyway, we'll see. But look, that's about it for the stew. Yeah, we had the kids Friday night for tea, for dinner, and had the whole family over for dinner Friday night. Then Tim's band, Reckless Error, the band he's in, they had a gig in one of the pubs in town, and so we had the kids Saturday night, then Sunday, then Jude was crook Sunday morning, all pale and yeah, had to go and have a lay down. She fainted even. She reckons she had a bellyache and yeah, went and laid down and passed out. But anyway, so I rang Tim up and said, come and get these kids, will you? Grandma needs a rest. So yeah, she's better today. She's at work today, and yeah, she just had a rest day yesterday. So I come up here yesterday morning, but yesterday arvo I cooked a roast and just sat around the pool room with her and buggered around, and yeah, just had a quiet time near the fire. Both had a bit of a rest, so it does you the world of good when you're becoming an old fart. But anyway, so she's going better. She reckons she's better. Time to sell the business, she reckons, and well, someone come and buy the bloody thing, will you? So we can go and play. All right. Thanks for dropping by again, everyone. Your time's much appreciated, as Barry would say, and yeah, we'll catch up with you next week. There will be a couple of good videos coming out with the tractor this week, so we'll catch you later, eh? Right, that's the side of the gearbox there. Now you can just see the texture is just a little bit different there than it is up here. So I think I'm going to sand that. I just needle scaled it, but I think I'm going to sand that, and then we'll put the rust converter on it again. Now this here, these were the little parts I had trouble getting into. I can still feel it just a little bit there. And I've got all the bolts cleaned up and all around the bell housing. So what's going to happen is any little parts that I'm not happy with, like the side here, yeah, they'll get a needle scale, and look, it's just a great tool for the job. So what I've done there, I've needle scaled it. I've run across it with the 120 in the little right angle die grinder, and then I've used the rust converter on it. And the rust converter likes a little bit of rust still, but you can see, like, even though that looks like there's a little mark of paint there, that's actually a low spot, and that's fine. The needle scaler didn't move it. So yeah, look, it does a good job. So I'm going to run around the block, like all the timing cover and the back adapter housing and all that all got sandblasted and cleaned up nicely. But yeah, the block I couldn't do, so I'm going to put a little bit more time in the block just to make it look nice and yeah, have it going good. But yeah, the rest's done. I just saw the other day there's just a slight little rough section there, so I might get into that. Now if I come around the other side here, I've got the starter on. The starter gets painted with the tractor because that's how they come out of the factory, and you can see where I've needle scaled in here. I haven't covered that with anything yet, and in that little pocket there was a hard place to get to, so I've done in there, and that's smooth as anything there now. I've got to put a bolt in here. So yeah, look, all the rest's good. Like, the housings are beautiful. This housing here, the engine block, look, it's really good. I touched it just there. I thought there was a lump there I could get out, but it wasn't. It was a casting lump. So yeah, so she's going to be all right. It's coming along nicely. I got the coupler there, so it's just sitting on the brake shaft here, so it's nice and handy, ready for filming. So that shaft was out of the 35. It just had less wear than the one down here on the 65, where I've had all the stuff there waiting for you. So yeah, so there you go. That's a bit of a walk around the 65 and what we're up to today. Well, look at this. This morning I've been buggering around getting the wheels off, and they are heavy, big buggers. So that's a step forward, no doubt. The final drives, look, they don't feel to have any wear in them. I'll try and stay out of the shadow. This one has the top of the breather missing, but I can't actually get any movement out of that one. We're getting ready to pull the guards off and hop into there. Come around here. No, doesn't appear to be any movement. So the next cab off the rank for this is staying out of the shadow. Yeah, look, the next cab off the rank is I'm going to pull the mud guards off. I'm not going to film pulling the mud guards off. That's probably going to be a bit of a battle with rusty bolts. And once we get it all blown clean, like I've blown the left-hand side sitting on the seat down, and the right-hand one with all the dirt on it, that's what you get. But yeah, look, we're going to keep that where it is just for the stripping, and then just for relevance, if we swing around here, that's where we've got to with putting it together. So once all that's stripped out, that'll be an empty place in the workshop, and this bay up the front here, which is a really good bay for filming because we have a light straight above my bench up there, and there is a light pretty well straight above this too, but over here seems to be a better place. So, but yeah, those big wheels, man, they're heavy bloody things. I'll go for a little walk over. And that's the, for those of you overseas, that's the cast centres that come standard with the 65 in Australia. And like that's halfway up my arm. So this one has like a grader tyre on it. Well, it's actually, they call it a backhoe tyre, 16.928 industrial. 4 SOL Solid Eel is the brand. So, but oh man, they're heavy. That one was hard to shift because of the flat tread pattern. When you're trying to wrestle it, turn it and all that on the ground, you have too much surface area down on the concrete. Now this one here with the, this is probably an Olympic gripster. Yep, gripster. This one here, I made sure I pumped it up to about 16-18 pound, and that one there was a lot easier to move around. So I've got them in the doorway here where I can bring the forklift in past the sandblasting unit there, and I do have an electronic scale. So I was thinking, just for interest, I might get that Olympic gripster one, which is probably what people would more likely have from the industrial tyre, and I'll see if my scale goes up to that, my electronic scale goes up to that, and we'll weigh them just for the fun of it really. So these are going up for sale. I don't need them. For me to restore tractors in the shed here, the fun part is then taking them to town and, you know, running them into a show and things like that. And with all this weight on the back of the tractor, it makes them just way too heavy for me to tow behind my Land Cruiser. So I do have some original 3-piece Massey 65 rims. I finally found a set. So I'm going to put these for sale with the front, the heavy cast centre fronts, with the spacer plates from the fronts and the hubs from the front, even though one hub is a bit dicky, but a standard hub with long studs will do the job. But and if I can get $660 for the whole lot, I could throw in wheel nuts and all sorts of things for that. So, and that'll just pay for the set of rims. So the set of rims to replace them, and then I've got to go to town and buy tyres, so that'll be an expensive exercise.